seats. Which seat do you want to sit in?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. OK. Hey, everybody. I wanted to invite everybody to take a seat if you want. We'd love to see all your faces, get some conversation going, and get to know you all a little bit better. And maybe we can start this lovely dinner, lovely night. Okay.
Woohoo!
OK. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. I mean, we definitely appreciate you taking the time to come and see us tonight. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mario Di Dio. I am the General Manager of Network at Helium Mobile. And tonight, I want to welcome with us on stage Dan Thygesen, which I'm going to let him introduce himself in a second. But I want to say on behalf of the Helium Mobile team, again, thank you very much for taking the time and spend time tonight. We will have more time after this little chat to connect more and answer any question that you might have. So maybe, why don't we start with Dan? You want to tell us a little bit? Probably many people in the room already know what you do at T-Mobile. I see a lot of sweaters and a lot of T-shirts, but maybe it would be good to know, like, what does your day-to-day looks like?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mario, and welcome everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces, and especially I know the rain's starting to come down out there, so I appreciate you guys taking the time to come out and chat with us a little bit and listen to us. My name's Dan Thygesen. I'm responsible for a couple different functions at T-Mobile. The primary driver of value for the company that I'm responsible for is called wholesale. It's a line of business that really focuses on finding really interesting, innovative, creative third-party brands and products and services to bring to the network, and then be able to enable those brands and services and products to take advantage of our 5G and the capacity and the utility that network provides. And so that manifests itself in lots of interesting and innovative relationships with different kinds of value propositions that need the T-Mobile 5G network to sort of bring that value to life. That's the primary sort of focus of what we do day to day. We also do something called Network as a Service, which is a function of enabling APIs to be used to control different parts of the network itself. So as an example, instead of just getting access to the network and using data or talk or text features, you can actually administer controls into the network by way of these APIs that do things like provide alternate phone numbers and create a slice on demand and adjust potentially your prioritization and your quality of network disposition and things like that. So it's all for us about enabling third parties and other brands to come in and use all of these amazing services, whether it's the network as a product or whether it's these things that are ultimately APIs that go into building other features and services. So that's a little bit about what we're doing.
That's very cool. I mean, I'm definitely, my background, of course, is in telco, so every time I hear APIs and network APIs, it's amazing to see the progress of the industry has made in the past, especially in the last 10 years. And a little bit about us and Helium Mobile. So again, as I say, my name is Mario, and I run what we have a networking, this is a network business unit. So what does it even mean? So Helium Mobile is a partner of T-Mobile. We are an MVNO, which means that we have a mobile plan that you can purchase in the US as Helium Mobile. And we are a very interesting, and I would say very different type of carrier, or to say a service provider, operator, how do you want to call it, that you can buy a phone plans from. Why? Is because we're all built on this concept that we call it the people power network. Why is it people power network? Is because everybody that is in a Helium Mobile ecosystem, it doesn't matter if you are a subscriber on the network or if you help us build a network, hold on that thought, I'll explain what that means in a second. Everybody is part of an ecosystem that helps each other out. So we really believe in the power of community, and this community can manifest itself in different ways. I see a lot of familiar faces, even tonight in the audience, of people that have ambassadors for our Helium Mobile subscription, as well as ambassadors for the network. I see a lot of builders that have been with us for a long time and they help. So how does this work? Well, put in shortly, we use this concept of hybrid network, or dynamic network, or dynamic coverage. The idea of using more than one network to offer to reach a customer. We are partnered with T-Mobile, so we have the luxury and the honor the pleasure to have access to the largest 5G network in the country, together with another network which is called the Helium network. What the Helium network is a network which is created by people like all of you. And how do you create a network? If you are like a person that owns a coffee shop, or if you are like a small business owner, or if you are like someone that manages a small retail store, a deli, how do you create a network? It's not one of those things that you would think you would do in your life, I think, when you open a restaurant. The way you do it is that behind you there is a table there. We have these devices. They're called hotspots. We call it Helium Mobile hotspots. Conceptually, you want to think of that as like a mini cell tower. This is a device that, when put inside your premises, creates coverage. And that coverage gets utilized by users. And here's the concept of dynamic and hybrid. Let's say you're taking a walk downtown, and you are on T-Mobile coverage, and then you enter an area when we have one of the hotspots. You have a coffee shop, and someone installed the hotspot. The moment you enter the coffee shop, you will be automatically and seamlessly, so actually you don't notice that, you will be transferred. Your data session will be transferred into the hotspot. So you will start utilizing the Helium network. For that reason, the person that put up the hotspot he has the potential to earning what? Earn cryptocurrency tokens. The cryptocurrency of the network is called the Helium Network Token, and as the purpose of creating and building that community. So, but before we get a little bit more into that, I wanted to ask a question to you, because I started to talk about this community aspect. And I think one of the things that was very important in this partnership when it was formed, I think we do see a lot of that as well in the way T-Mobile does business, and the way T-Mobile has done throughout the years is trying to nurture that community of users. So maybe how important it is for you as a T-Mobile, especially also in your role, to have that type of community, and how that changes the way T-Mobile does business, before we dig a little bit more on that.
It's critical. I mean, it is the reason we exist, right? So if you think about what we're trying to accomplish as a network operator, we're trying to remove pain points. We're trying to enable more and more people to have better coverage in more places, so that connectivity is, to your point, seamless. Like, you don't have to think about your network, because it exists with a high degree of quality everywhere you go. And making sure that that's how the network is architected and administered and managed is super key to removing those pain points of, I can't get a signal, I can't get a connection, my calls drop, those kinds of things. We're constantly focused on eliminating those kinds of problems. And the way we do that is by building out and managing appropriately the network. So, it makes it for a really easy transition into a conversation around, like, what is the benefit between the two of us having a relationship together? Because it's about network, right? It's about how does the amazing T-Mobile 5G network correlate to the amazing Helium network, and how does your experience as a customer benefit from that kind of relationship, right? And so that's why we spent a lot of time over the last, it's going on a couple of years now, to put this thing together, because we recognize as a network operator that more network, deeper, broader network is the best possible outcome for a network operator. And so it's like the power of 1 + 1 here is 3. The value that's created by these two networks coming together and the mechanics of how that happens with people building their own network as a function of being a Helium subscriber is what gives us that sort of incremental value, the 1 + 1 = 3.
That is awesome. Yeah, I think that the idea of like the seamless connectivity is something that I don't think is not just is an aspiration, but it's also a necessity.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think there is no way that today, again, eliminating friction point and the way people experience the network today and tomorrow will always, and it has to be seamless. It has to be, I don't have to think about it, it just works. And that's the way, the premises on which we build everything that we do at Helium Mobile, both on the subscriber side as well as the network side. Like, again, here tonight, even though I manage the network side of the business, I have Coco Tang here in the audience, which manages the MVNO, and we both are super aligned on the fact that everything needs to be completely seamless and frictionless for the end user. No matter, doesn't matter if you're buying a phone plan or if you're installing a hotspot. And just that's the idea of frictionless is the only way that works. So a little bit more about what we're doing is that why is it important is because let's say you are a subscriber, why does it matter? Why is it important to create a network that people can use and how we make that happen? It's pretty simple actually, if you think about it. If you think about this from the beginning, it's actually pretty simple. So when you become a subscriber as the Helium Mobile plan, you have the possibility, if you want, to actually contribute to the network building on the Helium. How do you do that? We have one function in the Helium Mobile plan, which is called discovery mapping. What discovery mapping is the ability for the user, if they want to share their location information with the Helium network. When they decide to do so, their information gets aggregated, anonymized and aggregated by the Helium network. And then what that information is effectively mapping where the user are, where coverage is needed the most, really. And the network turns that around and definitely put this on a map in shape of areas that we point the community of builders to build coverage. So let's say you have a lot of people that they are congregated in, let's say, downtown Austin, then that becomes a point on the network, on the map, that you can go on our Helium Planner, Helium Coverage Planner website. You can see those areas, and then it's a signal for the community to go build. And that's where the hotspots come into place, because now, and for doing that, important part, for doing that, the people that turn on discovery mapping actually get rewarded in cryptocurrency as well. So it's talking about innovation. It's like it's the first time that effectively you contribute to a network as a subscriber. You actually get rewarded into that, and then you can use those rewards to pay towards your plan. There is a lot of very cool features as part of being a subscriber. And then there is the building aspect that I mentioned before. So you put up a hotspot, you provide coverage, and you get rewarded for the coverage that you provided and for the amount of coverage that you provided. You touched initially about the fact that your role at T-Mobile means looking at very different innovative mode. Of course, I'm very excited about what we're doing. I'm very biased, undoubtedly so, right? Otherwise, how could I be here otherwise? But tell us a little bit about what is the type of like innovative thinking that you see in the portfolio company that you work with, of course, without maybe getting specific. But I think this idea of innovation is something that Helium Mobile, we like live and breathe every single day. Yeah. And it feels that it's very common also in your portfolio.
We're trying to do the same. We are trying to put innovation at the forefront of everything we do. Maybe to also sort of put it into perspective, from a reference perspective, the seamless network and the development of that seamless network is really sort of the baseline. Because what that does is that allows, to Mario's point, to remove some of these pain points around enabling people to be compensated for building out the network. That's a pretty cool thing. But as that network gets bigger and broader and deeper, then it has a lot of opportunity that follows that in terms of people that want to do things with the network, right? So there's traditional utilization. People are on phones and tablets, and then they're enabling other people to use their hotspots, and then they're building programs and applications that sit on top of the network. So all of that requires like this seamless connectivity as the fundamental starting point for all of this innovation to build on top of that. I think if you look at the telco industry in general, over the years, you have lots of carriers that are all ultimately trying to sell the same thing. They're trying to monetize talk, text, and data. And I think that one of the things that T-Mobile has done really, really well is to think differently about how you monetize the network. And this relationship is an example of that. There are not a lot of other relationships yet between telco operators and network operators like Helium that are looking for ways to create value for everybody that's part of the life cycle. The subscriber, the operator, anybody who's building applications on top of that fundamental layer of connectivity, like everybody wins in this kind of relationship. As opposed to maybe historically you could look at, telcos from the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s that were predominantly focused on commoditizing and monetizing just for themselves, I guess you'd call it selfishly, the access to the network. The dynamics of how we run the business and create relationships and monetize it today are very, very different from that. It's a little bit cliche, but there's a saying that says all boats rise on the incoming tide. It's really, really true. Like I get a ton of value out of the relationship that I have with Helium. Helium gets a ton of value out of the relationship that they have with T-Mobile. Every single subscriber or builder who's deploying network services on Helium as a function of the relationship with T-Mobile is also generating a ton of value, right? So it's really win, win, win all the way across.
Yeah,
you just don't see that in a lot of other places, and so that's a key sort of for us. That's a key sort of focal point for when we think about innovation. How can we unlock things, remove barriers, these pain points that I referenced that enable everybody who's participating to take advantage of this utility and create value for themselves?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point because I think we tend to think about innovation in mostly in the technology space. At least often, we see the different Gs, and of course that's very cool and stuff. We will keep seeing that, but I think there is a definitely paradigm shift that needs to happen on the business development front that needs to be a different type of innovation. It seems that you definitely do that when you think about the win-win-win strategy for all of that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, innovation is not just like what kind of technology can you develop next. It's about the commercial relationships that you create. It's about the go-to-market techniques that you may employ. It's about how you think about taking technology, creating utility with it, and then driving value because of that, right?
Yeah,
so it's a different way to think about it, with the end result being more for everybody.
Right, yeah, and I think the concept of value is very interesting, right? Because I think traditionally we tend to attach value in a monetary form, which is still, of course, very true. We're still here making businesses, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But I think that there is something around that. Again, I go back to the idea of community because it's very important. Like when you are part of the Helium, for example, you are part of a community. Like our builders, we have a community that decides how the network moves. That's the other big part of what we're doing with Helium, is this idea of like the network is self-governing and that part as well. And the value in this case, for example, there is like a blockchain / cryptocurrency component that definitely is of value for a part of the market. And I think we wanna tap into that. And this type of relationship with this innovation allowed us to do that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask a question because I think I've been thinking about this. Is like, of course, we can talk about all the great things that we're doing, but I think there are some challenges as well in what we're doing. What we are effectively, another way of looking at what we're doing the Helium Mobile with Helium Network and the Helium Mobile is this like concept of decentralization. It's a decentralization of the ownership of the infrastructure. That's what the networks does, and the decentralization, if you wish, also on the sub-plan in different way. So when you look at that, when you think about challenges of the industry moving forward, I do have my set of challenges that I want to share, but first I want to ask you, what do you think are the challenges for the next like let's say even 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think we're still stuck a little bit in some of the bias around blockchain and Web3 and cryptocurrency as a function of this innovation that we're deploying and utilizing. I think people are starting to get their heads around volatility in the marketplace specific to cryptocurrencies. Seen a lot of that in the last couple weeks in particular. Let's go Bitcoin. And let's go mobile. Can we?
Let's go.
Helium? Let's go. Come on. But it is a little bit of a ball and chain. We are still, look, there's a very small percentage of this country that's invested in cryptocurrency. It's certainly much more available now, but it's pulling along a little bit of negative history with it, with some of the stuff that's happened over the last couple of years. And so, that's a challenge. That's a challenge for corporate America to buy into how do I go create value using these things that, they got some shade in a few places and some of the ways they've been exploited. So that's a bit of a challenge, I think, on the commercial side, right? If I could go convince, my CFO to expand my budget and let me go buy a ton of some currency and stake it and generate a bunch of incremental revenue, that would be amazing. Like that would be my own personal goal for the year. But again, it's a little bit harder making those kinds of decisions in an environment that has this risk of volatility. And this thing that happened last Tuesday, that could have a pretty significant impact on regulation. And until a lot more of that gets fleshed out, I think that's a bit of a risk as well also, right? So it's not so much like people are not sure what happens when you plug in a hotspot and create coverage. That's the easy part.
That's the easy part.
People can recognize that value right away. It's on a broader scale, how fast can those kinds of ideas and concepts and services be adopted by mainstream, which is where you get the scale, that's what you really need. When you've got some of these other things that are, because they're emerging and evolving still, they create a little bit of risk for people.
Yeah, no, I actually, I joined this company actually 2 years to the day. Today is my 2 years anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's kind of very
Cheers to like
cool.
40 more years, man.
40 more.
You got a ways to go.
Just 40. Hopefully, it'll take less for the industry to recognize the blockchain and cryptocurrency. But I guess what I'm trying to say, the reason why it matters is because I'm very new to the space, to this crypto environment. I always say internally, the telco guy. And that's what I've been doing for a long time. And I just came from a big telco conference this week, and one of the things that I've been trying really, really hard, because I think it's important to recognize the value, is to divide the blockchain component from the crypto component. They're one and one thing for us, and we will. But when you try to explain the value of the technology advancement, I think I found it very useful to separate what is important. Well, I'll tell you why. For example, one of the biggest thing that I think is a challenge for decentralization is the quality of assurance, the quality of service. How do you make sure that a network that gets deployed by the many, that can be you, it can be you, it can be anywhere, anyone. I mean, the Helium network is made of this multitude of people. It's very hard to manage it in a traditional way, the quality of service. I mean, again, coming from the telco world, you have your NOC, you have a network management system, your network operating center, you know everything. You have like the eye of Sauron, you saw everything, you know exactly how things are moving. So how do you replicate that into a network that actually is owned by many people? And I think one of the biggest technology innovation that this team, the Helium team, way even before of the mobile, remember, for the ones that you don't know, the Helium network actually started in IoT 2018, and some of the people in this audience, like I see Coco and others, and Emily and others, have been here for a long time. One of the biggest things that this network has done is including blockchain into the telco world. In which way? Everything that happens on the hotspot side, in terms of like data transfer, in terms of what is the performance of the link that feeds into the hotspot, is actually stored in the ledger of the blockchain, in the ledger. And I didn't realize the power of that until actually I started to have this conversation with other telco leaders, because the moment you do that, you realize that, oh my God, now I have full transparency, immutability of something that I can take it and I can trust the quality. And I think that going forward, that's why I kind of, once I figure out that could be one way to open conversation, because if you open the conversation, say we are a cryptocurrency, you're listed in Coinbase, blah, 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 you lose like 75% of the people other than you because you're amazing.
Yeah.
But 75% on the telco world will be lost. The way you open the conversation, that look, we actually put quality of services and quality of assurance and metrics on the ledger, and it's immutable, it's transparent, and you look, there is a Helium planner, you can see everything in there. And everybody's all like, whoa.
Yeah. But you know what, Mara? I think all those attributes, 100%, I agree. And you kind of have to get into it a little bit and learn a little bit about it to understand what those things are. And then when you do learn it, you realize, okay, this is an amazing technology. And the utility that can come out of it is also amazing. The tricky part is blockchain has a customer experience problem.
Right.
It is hard to use it as a consumer. You know, you can build things with it as a technologist. You can construct commercial models and technology models that create a use case, utility. But you know, to get to the value to where people are either being paid or paying, right? So there's the transaction stuff there. It has to become a lot easier to use.
Yeah, and that's very true.
Like, a lot easier to use.
A lot easier. I mean, like, I'm thinking specifically on our own use case as the plan, our subscriber plan. When you get rewarded, when the chain rewards you in cryptocurrency for discovery mapping, I say you can apply that to pay for your plan. That immediately happens there into the app. Or if you want to pay with crypto, happens there in the app. And even for new people approaching, this is one of the biggest things actually that I think the Helium network has done, again, way at the beginning, is that it actually brought a lot of people into the crypto space because it was thought, the product leadership that I see here in the audience taught about that easeability from the get-go. And I mean, you know, my CEO Amir and Amir Alim and Frank Mong and Boris Rensky, they're all like about the user experience to be flawless. So when you sign up for the plan, there's an obsession about how easy it is. And in the background, there is all sorts of complex stuff.
Wallets.
You create a Solana wallet, you create an NFT on chain. For the ones that you don't know, NFT is a non-fungible token, is a component. It's like an item that lives in the blockchain. And all that stuff, if you started that way, you lose again. But we made that very simple. The hotspot, it's like you can set it up in 30 minutes top, and you create a login and everything seems seamless. There is a lot of stuff that complexity, and it's going to be an ongoing challenge for us to do, as you said. This is for the more of the retail side of the business. Again, from the telco side of the business, we're trying to bubble up what is the secret sauce, and I think that idea of immutability, transparency of the quality of service is really hitting that, together with the idea of we can shape coverage, the network can shape coverage, it can create coverage when the carrier or someone else is needed. One of the things that we've done in the past 6 months with the network side is that now beyond the Helium Mobile, we actually have several other carriers that use the network daily through a series of integration that we have done. And you know, early this year, we announced a partnership in Mexico with Telefonica for doing exactly the same thing, for their users to utilize the network. Why it's important is because we started to see this shift into traditional carriers to look at this abstract and be like, oh, wait, so can we basically get that data from like coverage and shape the coverage? You can help us complement the coverage in a faster way. Together with our amazing thing, it becomes this network, we call it convergence in the industry, which I don't know if easy or not to understand, but this idea of like merging and converging network for the user experience. So yeah, I think that abstraction to talk to different audience, it doesn't matter if it's your retail audience or if it is your telco audience, it's going to be key.
Yeah, totally agree.
Okay, I'm getting the signal that we need to go, but one last question for you is that what do you expect next, I would say? And yeah, I would say, like, what do you expect next of this relationship, how you would like to move forward? Also, yeah, if there is one takeaway that you want anybody to take on your work, our partnership, what that would be?
I think there's a couple things for us. One is, you know, so when you innovate, you get a chance to learn. You get a chance to learn, like, are the things that you're constructing functional? Or are they creating value? So we're always super interested in, sort of watching the development. And a lot of that development is you. Like, you guys are developing sort of on the fringe of our network, but we're related in that sense. So we get to watch and learn and understand how you guys think about network development. And sometimes that's a comparative analysis, sometimes it's a complementary analysis, but it's interesting for us because we get to learn. And learning as a function of innovation is super important because that's sort of what enables you to keep innovating, right? The other thing is that, honestly, it's accretive. Like, these relationships are parts of companies that are for-profit organizations, and the goal is to create revenue, a revenue stream that is lasting and recurring and on an upward trajectory. So the more that we do together, and the better that my network becomes, and the better that your network becomes, then again, the better the experience is for everybody who uses it or participates in the building of it. And that, again, is creating value. So we look forward to, seeing like your subscriber base get bigger, which is my subscriber base at the same time, and everybody's benefiting from it. So two big things for us, I think, when we think about what we want going forward. We want to learn more. We want to see this thing be super successful and learn from it. Maybe that leads T-Mobile down a different path of innovation at some other point in time where we actually incorporate blockchain into how we do business. Because right now, we're watching that technology. We're participating, but we don't run or own or use the blockchain the same way that Helium does, obviously. So, but we're interested in that. It's fun, it's interesting. And then we want to make more money.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, on my end, I think that this idea of partnership with someone like open-minded that is really devoted themselves to innovation in this way, it's pretty cool because, like you say, you're learning, but we're learning too. And I think that, look at this space. Like I was telling you behind there before we came in, it's like, I just want to pull out my laptop and start coding in one of those areas. It's pretty amazing space.
Yeah, we'll get a spot for you.
I also saw all the radios and all the, once you are immersed in this type of partnership, it's very easy to get creative as well.
Yeah.
So it's a thank you to you and the team to let us do that creative things. But what I want to see in the future is this concept of community to grow. There is a place for everyone. There is a place for people that want the $20 a month talk, text, and data on the Helium Mobile. There is a place that for people that run their own coffee shop and they need better coverage inside, or they want to provide coverage. There's a place for everybody. There's a place for telco providers. There's a place for vendors. There is a place for everybody. So I think what I would like to say, I would like to see more and more of this community growing.
Yeah.
And the takeaway from everybody, well, try it out and buy a hotspot and get a line if you're not a subscriber. But generally speaking, I think getting involved and involvement in technology is becoming easier. At least it's one of the things that we want to make it happen in the Helium Mobile.
I think you guys are a really good example of that, of making it easier to participate in all the benefits that come with innovation.
Yeah.
So kudos to you guys. Yeah,
Thank you,
it's
Dan.
cool. Yeah,
It's been
my
a pleasure. Thank you, everybody.